This animal looks like a snake, but it's called a slowworm. It's a legless lizard. Legless lizards have fleshy tongues because they evolved from different lizard ancestors.
Nature is full of surprises, and scientists are always finding new creatures that seem almost unbelievable. Imagine a tiny chameleon that can sit on the tip of your finger, or a rainbow-colored fish that thrives deep in the dark ocean. These strange and wonderful discoveries show just how amazing our world is. Let's explore some of the most fascinating and strange new species scientists have recently found. Cowbang Crocodile Newt. Up in the misty hills of northern Vietnam, something unusual caught the eyes of a group of scientists exploring a stream. There, sitting still in the water, was a creature that looked like a tiny crocodile but had legs much longer than you would expect. Its rough skin and strange knobby bumps gave it an ancient, almost mythical look. The team couldn't help but lean in closer. What they found was a brand new species. This little amphibian, now called the Cowbang Crocodile Newt, is no ordinary find. It's about the size of an adult's hand, measuring over 5 inches long. Its body is stocky and covered in tough, bumpy skin that looks like armor. But the real surprise comes when you look closer. Its toes and fingers are tipped with bright orange markings that stand out against its dark, uniform body. Flip it over and you will see a grey belly with a sharp orange stripe running down its tail. The newt's DNA sets it apart from its cousins by at least 2%, proving it's a unique species. It lives high up in mountain forests at heights of 3,300 feet or more, where the air is cooler. In the rainy summers, these newts head to slow-moving streams and shallow pools to breed. When winter comes, they vanish, hiding themselves under rocks and in crevices to stay safe. But life isn't easy for these tiny creatures. Human activities, like farming and deforestation, are tearing apart their natural habitat. Experts are worried that this new species is already on the brink of disappearing, even though it's officially protected under Vietnamese law. Crocodile newts, in general, are among the world's most endangered amphibians. Still, discovering the Cowbang crocodile newt is a big deal for scientists. Finding a new species in such a remote area shows just how much more is out there, waiting to be uncovered. And just as this new species is making its mark, another fascinating creature is capturing attention in a completely different part of the world. This next one doesn't crawl through streams or hide under rocks. Instead, it glides through the air. The Mizoram parachute gecko. Not all geckos are content with hanging on walls. Some take to the skies. Deep in the forests near the Indo-Myanmar border, researchers stumbled upon a lizard that seemed to have a knack for drama. Unlike most geckos that stick to trees, this one had a flair for flying, or at least gliding. The Mizoram parachute gecko, or Gecko mizoramensis, is a brand new species that was discovered by scientists from Mizoram University and the Max Planck Institute for Biology. It is named after the region where it was found and joins a unique group of 14 gliding geckos known for their impressive airborne tricks. Similar geckos have been spotted in nearby countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, and Cambodia. But this is the first time one has been documented in India. These geckos are about 20 centimeters long, and they blend into their environment with colors that make them nearly invisible against tree bark and leaves. Unlike other gliding reptiles that use bones to form their wings, parachute geckos rely on flaps of skin along their bodies. When they leap from high places, these skin flaps catch the air, slowing their fall and giving them just enough control to glide from tree to tree. It's like nature designed them their own little parachutes. But the flaps do more than just help them glide. They also act as a clever disguise, breaking up the gecko's outline so predators have a hard time spotting them. It is a life-saving trick that's shared by several species in this group, which is one reason why they're so hard to tell apart. So how did researchers figure out that Gecko mizoramensis was its own species? It took a mix of genetic testing and a close look at some small differences in size and coloring. Scientists believe this gecko evolved separately from its closest relative, Gecko poppayensis, thanks to the natural barrier of the Arakan Mountains. This separation likely allowed the two species to develop unique traits over time. The discovery shows just how little we still know about the wildlife in this region. The forests around Mizoram, along with neighboring areas in Bangladesh and Myanmar, are teeming with lizards and other creatures waiting to be discovered. Who knows what other hidden species might be lurking there? But Mizoram isn't the only place with exciting reptile discoveries. There is a new find in Angola that is sure to make you do a double take. Lance-skink. Deep in the mountains of Angola, this slippery little creature was busy minding its own business under a rock. It wasn't flashy or fast, but it had a certain charm, if you like animals that look like they can't decide whether to be a snake or a worm. Scientists passing through the area noticed something about this odd creature and realized they had stumbled onto something new.
Slippery, slithery friend.
What is this?
Well, it's a snake. That's my guess.
Really? It is not a snake.
Come on.
It is a
eel.
It is a legless skink from the
what?
sparsely wooded
Skink?
slopes from the second tallest mountain in Angola.
The animal, now named Acontias muquando, or the Serra da Neve lance-skink, is technically a lizard, though you wouldn't guess it at first glance. It's about medium-sized, growing up to 6.8 inches long. What is unusual, though, is its lack of limbs. Yep, no legs. It is smooth and cylindrical, with no ear openings and a body shape that makes it look like it might slither into a worm's family reunion by mistake. The lance-skink's appearance is simple but eye-catching. Its body is a soft pinkish color with a dark brown stripe stretching all the way down its back. Near its neck, the dark stripe is interrupted by a creamy white ring, almost like it is wearing a tiny collar. This little detail makes it stand out from others, giving it a unique look. If you peek underneath, it gets even more colorful. Its belly isn't just plain, it is speckled with patches of pink, purple, and blue. The lance-skink gets its name from the word muquando, which comes from the local Kachi villagers who helped the research team discover it. The skink's only known home is near the base of Serra da Neve, Angola's second highest mountain. This spot is pretty remote, with a sparse forest environment that makes it a perfect hiding place for such an unusual animal. Scientists think it is only found in this small, isolated area, making it a rare and important find. Its mountain home, located near the western coast of Angola, isn't exactly bustling with other creatures, which might explain why it has managed to stay hidden for so long. This fascinating find is just one of many strange and wonderful creatures making headlines recently. Speaking of surprises, imagine coming across a snake with blood-red eyes and scales patterned in red, black, and yellow. Sounds deadly, right? Well, not quite. This next discovery might look like a villain, but there is more to it than meets the eye. DiCaprios snail-eating snake. Among the palms of Central and South America, an unusual snake with a peculiar diet has just been introduced to the world. Its dramatic looks might make you think it's dangerous, but don't let appearances fool you. This snake would not hurt a fly. Well, maybe a slug, but you get the idea. Meet Cebon irmelin DiCaprio, also known as DiCaprios snail-eating snake. It is one of 5 new species recently discovered in these dense, biodiverse forests. Despite its flashy name, the snake is named more for love than Hollywood glamour. Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor and conservationist, requested that the snake be named after his mother, Irmelin Indenberken. At about 15 inches long, this docile creature spends its evenings 10 feet off the ground, feasting on snails and slugs. When threatened, it doesn't lash out like most snakes. Instead, it tucks its head into its coils and releases a foul-smelling musk, hoping the stench will send predators packing. These gentle snakes are found in some of the most beautiful and biodiverse regions of the world, including the Upper Amazon in Ecuador and Colombia, and the Choco Darien rainforest in Panama. But this paradise isn't as safe as it seems. Beneath the forests lies gold and copper. This makes the areas a target for mining operations. Mining is a messy business. To get to the metals, companies create massive open pits and clear vast areas of forest. Rivers are disrupted, forests are fragmented, and toxic waste is left behind. As water flows through these mines, it becomes contaminated with harmful substances like sulfur and heavy metals, resulting in acid drainage that poisons rivers and streams. This isn't just bad news for the trees and rivers. The snakes lose their homes as forests are destroyed for mining pits, camps, and roads. Even the patches of forest left behind suffer, drying out along the edges. And if that wasn't enough, the snake's food supply, snails and slugs living near riverbanks, is also dwindling due to water pollution. While the discovery of DiCaprios' snail-eating snake is exciting, it also serves as a warning. The very habitat that gave rise to this fascinating creature is under threat. For now, the snake continues its quiet, harmless life in the treetops, but its future is uncertain. Speaking of unexpected discoveries, imagine stumbling across a creature that looks more like a treat than an amphibian. The tapir frog. It is not every day that scientists are led to a discovery by what sounds like a tiny buried alarm. But that's exactly what happened in Peru's Putumayo Basin, where an odd beeping sound drew researchers' attention. That noise belonged to a small, elusive creature, a burrowing frog that would soon reveal itself as something entirely new. This frog spends its life under the surface, making it more often heard than seen. Researchers, drawn in by the strange sounds, began investigating and uncovered the tiny creature. Measuring no bigger than a quarter, this frog is fast, shy, and surprisingly hard to catch. It gets its name, the tapir frog, from its resemblance to the long-nosed Amazonian mammal. Though the connection might seem a little odd, once you see it, it clicks. The Amazon's peatlands are the only known home of this rare amphibian, and finding it wasn't easy. Its underground lifestyle and incredible speed make it difficult to study, so there is still much to learn. The discovery of the tapir frog, however, has brought a sense of optimism to biologists. To them, this little amphibian is proof that the Amazon's biodiversity still holds secrets, even in areas impacted by deforestation and climate change. What's caught even more attention, though, is the nickname it has picked up online. Harry Potter fans have taken one look at this brown, burrowing frog and dubbed it the chocolate frog, after the magical treat from the wizarding world. While this one isn't wrapped in gold foil or hiding a trading card, the resemblance is uncanny. And to be fair, it is a lot cuter than the name suggests. But while the tapir frog's discovery sparks joy, it shows us how much we still don't know about ecosystems like the Amazon. And speaking of strange and delightful discoveries, there is another critter making waves, this one from the waters off Australia. Known for its bizarre fashion choices, it carries an accessory that is as practical as it is adorable. The Lamar Dromia Beagle. Most crabs rely on their shells for protection, but one recently discovered species takes things a step further. Meet the Lamar Dromia Beagle, a crab that doesn't just wear a sponge for camouflage, it turns it into a stylish hat and coat. At first glance, this fluffy crustacean might remind you of a stuffed toy. Don't let its soft, shaggy look fool you, though. Underneath that cozy outfit, it's all tough exoskeleton. This unusual crab was found by a family strolling along a beach near Denmark in Western Australia. Curious about their find, they sent it to a crustacean expert at the Western Australian Museum in Perth. The expert confirmed it belonged to the sponge crab family, but noted it was a particularly rare and unique specimen.
It's fluffy and has never been seen before. Lamar Dromia Beagle is the latest addition to the sponge crab family, and it was found right here off the coast of regional WA.
So we know very little about the animal other than it exists, really.
The new species, named after famous naturalist, geologist and biologist Charles Darwin and his research boat, the HMS Beagle.
Sponge crabs are like nature's fashion designers. Using their sharp front claws, they cut pieces of sponges and sea squirts and hold them over their bodies with specially adapted back legs. Over time, these sponge scraps grow into a covering that offers more than just camouflage. The sponges release chemicals that predators like fish and octopuses find revolting. It is a clever way to stay off the menu. You will find these crabs in the Indian Ocean and along the western coast of Australia. They are surprisingly versatile, living in both shallow waters and depths of a few hundred meters. Whether they are tiptoeing through tide pools or creeping along the ocean floor, their sponge disguises make them masters of staying hidden. The Lamar Dromia Beagle might look cuddly, but it is all business when it comes to survival. Now, if you thought a crab wearing a sponge hat was wild, just wait for what is next. Somewhere in a patch of rainforest in northern Madagascar, there is a tiny reptile with a claim to fame you won't believe. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. This creature looks like something out of a science fiction movie. Its smooth, textured skin gives off an almost alien vibe, while its mouth-like openings make you wonder what it could possibly eat, or what might eat it. You can't help but be curious about its purpose, its habits, and its place in the ecosystem. Could it be an aquatic creature, perhaps dwelling in the deep ocean where light never reaches? Or does it belong to an undiscovered underground world? Strange new species scientists recently discovered seems like an understatement when looking at this odd being. Its form is so unfamiliar that it challenges our understanding of life as we know it. Imagine coming across something like this in the wild. It would be hard to tell if it's a plant, animal, or something else entirely. What is your first impression of this creature? Do you think it's really a strange new species scientists recently discovered? Or could it be an artistic creation, a hoax, or even something we've seen before but never looked closely at? Let us know what you think. Now, somewhere in a patch of rainforest in northern Madagascar, there is a tiny reptile with a claim to fame you won't believe. Brisia Nana. Imagine holding something so tiny it could sit on your fingertip. Yet it is alive, alert, and hunting for its next meal. That was exactly what scientists stumbled upon in the rainforests of northern Madagascar. Among leaves and moss, they found what might be the world's smallest reptile. It is a chameleon, but not the kind you are imagining. This little guy is so small it could sit comfortably on the head of a matchstick. Named Brisia Nana, or just Bee Nana, this micro-reptile measures about the size of a sunflower seed. Its life is pretty low-key, spent scuttling around the rainforest floor. It feeds on mites and springtails. These are tiny critters that are just as easy to miss as the chameleon itself. During the day, it's all about hunting. At night, it climbs up to a blade of grass to sleep, safe from the dangers of the ground. Unlike its flashier cousins, this chameleon doesn't bother with color-changing tricks. It's got its own thing going on, though. Its tongue works like a slingshot, snapping out to catch prey in an instant. That's about as dramatic as it gets for this little creature. What is interesting is that females are noticeably larger than the males. The reason? They need the extra space for carrying eggs. The males, on the other hand, have a unique claim to fame. Despite being barely over half an inch long, they come with an impressive anatomical feature. Let's just say their reproductive organs take up nearly 20% of their body length. Scientists think this might help them mate more effectively with the much larger females. But why does this species need such specific adaptations? That is a question researchers are still trying to figure out. For now, it seems this tiny creature has found its niche, thriving in its patch of rainforest like it's been there forever. Speaking of fascinating creatures, there is another recent discovery that has got scientists buzzing. This one involves something with bright neon streaks and legs that look like they belong in a sci-fi movie. Cowbang Crocodile N. Nature seems to have a soft spot for blue, and so do people. But finding blue in the natural world is like stumbling on buried treasure. It is rare and special. That is what makes this discovery so exciting. In the mangroves of southern Thailand, scientists found a dazzling new species of tarantula with neon streaks that look like they are lit from within. The spider, named Brisia Nana, doesn't just shimmer in any old blue. Its legs, back, and mouth parts glow in electric blue-violet hues that remind researchers of sparks from electrical wires. The effect isn't from pigments, though. Instead, it's all about the hair. The tarantula's body is covered in hair with tiny light-bending structures that create the vibrant color. Before scientists gave it an official name, this spider was already famous in the exotic pet trade as the electric blue tarantula. Now researchers have confirmed it as a unique species, adding it to the growing list of over 900 known tarantula species. Of those, fewer than 4% have any blue coloring, making this spider even more extraordinary. It's not just the color that makes Chilobrachys natanicarum stand out. It's also the first tarantula discovered in a mangrove forest in Thailand. Even more surprising, it is highly adaptable as it can live in both arboreal and terrestrial burrows in evergreen forests. This stunning spider, however, faces the same dangers as many other species in the region. Habitat destruction is a big problem, with mangrove forests shrinking to make way for human activities. On top of that, the demand for rare tarantulas in the pet trade puts even more pressure on their population. These threats make the discovery bittersweet. Scientists are excited to learn more about this tarantula, but also worried about its future. It is not every day you find a creature that looks like it was pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie. But nature has a way of surprising us, and this isn't the only strange creature to make headlines lately. Another discovery has people raising their eyebrows, and maybe running the other way. Alien-like wasp. If you have ever wondered what kind of bizarre creatures might be lurking in the shadows of the Amazon rainforest, here is something to chew on. Scientists recently set up some insect traps in a nature reserve near Iquitos, Peru, and the results were, well, let's just say they weren't ordinary. Among the hundreds of creepy crawlies they caught, there was one that stole the show. A wasp with a face so strange it could start a whole debate about what's scarier: an old man with a wild beard or the predator. Yes, that predator. This oddball turned out to be a brand new species of Darwin wasp, which scientists named Capitojopa amazonica. The name sounds fancy, but it breaks down pretty simply. Capito means big head. Joppa, on the other hand, nods to the wasp's smaller relatives in the Joppa genus. And amazonica describes where it was discovered: the lush Amazon rainforest. Now let's talk about size. This wasp isn't gigantic, but at 0.7 inches it is not small either. What makes it stand out isn't just its size though, it is what it does. This thing is what scientists call a solitary endoparasitoid. Translation: it lays an egg inside. Another living creature, like a caterpillar, beetle, or even a spider. Then things get really uncomfortable for the host. Here is how it works. The female wasp finds a suitable victim and gives it a once-over with her antennae, like she's checking out a potential Airbnb. If everything checks out, she jabs her host with an ovipositor, which is a sharp egg-laying tube. That's when the real horror story begins. The egg hatches a few days later, and the baby wasp doesn't waste any time making itself at home. It starts eating its host from the inside out. By the time it's done, the larva has turned the poor creature into a protective shell where it can safely grow into an adult wasp. And just like that, out pops a fully formed predator ready to start the cycle all over again. As eerie as it sounds, this new species is just one piece of the Amazon's endlessly fascinating puzzle. There is always something new and strange waiting to be found, whether it's an insect with a head too big for its body or, well, something else entirely. Speaking of which, the next find takes us somewhere even deeper, far below the ocean's surface. Down there, something extraordinary has been discovered. It's bright, it's pink, and it's living in a place where most creatures wouldn't dare venture. Rainbow-colored fish. The waters around the Maldives hide some stunning secrets, and one of them is a fish so colorful it could outshine a coral reef. Meet the rose-veiled fairy wrasse, a recent discovery that's adding a splash of pink to the ocean's twilight zone. This fish, known scientifically as Cyrilabrus finifenma, lives between 131 and 229 feet below the surface. That's the kind of depth where sunlight starts to fade. But this little swimmer seems determined to keep things vibrant. Its name, finifenma, means rose in the local Divehi language, honoring both its rosy hues and the Maldives' national flower. Scientists are still piecing together the details of its life. Male fairy wrasses become brighter as they age, with bold pigments on their heads that gradually fade along the body. Females and juveniles look similar but less flashy, with juveniles sporting lighter pink tones before maturing into their more vivid adult colors. While this fish is a showstopper underwater, it is also becoming a star in the aquarium trade. Species from the Cirrhilabris genus are highly prized for their bright, eye-catching colors, making them popular choices for collectors and enthusiasts. But life isn't all rosy for the rose-veiled fairy wrasse. Studies of related species in the Great Barrier Reef suggest their odds of survival aren't great. Juveniles face especially high risks, and while some individuals might make it to 4 or 5 years, most don't live nearly that long. For a fish so beautiful, its time in the spotlight is fleeting. And yet, in its brief life, the fairy wrasse manages to bring a burst of color to the depths of the ocean. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.